For the record, I want to say that under no circumstances should it ever be acceptable to say that somebody that has a high level of capability and also a very critical mind should be allowed to be politically disappeared and compelled to engage in participation in intentionally sabotaged processes of industrial manufacture under the auspices of being a laborer so that they can be attempted for some kind of manipulation into applying their own ethos as well as safety discernment to be prompted to compose grievances or reports to regulatory agencies that are intentionally taken out of a legitimate context for consideration so that they can provide bribable moments or moments of bribes, or, depending upon how long you orchestrate this, kickbacks to other people who agreed to facilitate a bribe scheme. And that's exactly what this was. For me specifically and personally, I was put into situations where people willingly and knowingly violated the law or what was the acceptable grievance process at the time, hoping to upleverage it and making an excuse for not doing their job with an understanding that whatever their interest was in trying to escalate the risk could potentially be met using me and my labor and work after it had been slandered and mischaracterized and been allowed to be acquired by either them personally or someone within their network to lobby on or to engage in accordance with and on their own behalf. This has been happening for 5 years. Ever since I attempted to go seek resources from a domestic violence shelter. And the ironic thing about it is that there is an element of self sabotage in this that is, on a personal level, very heartbreaking. Because by and large, what it seems like is some effort to try to orchestrate leverage to try to indict a completely racist, classist paradigm that is blatantly unconstitutional and that is completely counter to even its own best interest, except relativistically. And by allowing for the intentional misrepresentation and gamesmanship to occur, what it ends up doing is reifying the leverage that racialized and racist schemes about disproportionate aggregates access to resources has been able to do in terms of dispossessing people of color. It allows for them to masquerade as if they're entitled to escape accountability because they're dealing with a constituency or they're dealing with a context wherein, well, that's where the people are at. And we can't really give them more. This happens all the time. We can't really give them more because if we do, all they're going to do is waste it. So all we can give them is workers' comp. I swear to fucking God. And this isn't workers' comp, it's terrorism. And because you won't do what you're supposed to do in the moment, and because you won't actually get me contact with that person you're trying to frame, you become the terrorist. And you're hoping that what you can say is that you've wrangled me around enough and you've been able to slander me enough as a class that you can blame it on me. Right? And that's part of the compression. Because the problem is that if you don't succeed now, it decompresses. And that's exactly what's been happening. Right? So what metric are you vying for tomorrow? Because I already know what's in the scheme on a particular level, but ultimately at the end of the day, it doesn't work to your advantage. It doesn't work to our advantage, right? And you won't accept that I'm one of you. And so I'm always the outsider. And there is nobody else that is incentivized or has any actual, inspiration to try to accept me out of the scheme unless I target you. Right? Unless I target you. The only leverage you've given me after years of slandering me is you. And you've got a lot of you. There's a lot of you by now. How many people are employed just in Dallas at this corporation, at the 2 stores in Dallas, including the one downtown, where their security guards orchestrated that black op in order to get some leverage on the other side of an artificially contrived, newly created DMZ? Because what they really want is the gold from the other side of it. And you guys are in some sort of network where you're trying to wrangle me around, because at the end of the fucking day, you're helping to get me on site long enough to set something out and then kick me out on the street. And that's why the only jobs I can get are in retail, right? It's unfortunate. Because even if you had a just cause claim, when you steal what I have to actually advocate on your behalf, regardless of what the justification is, you know what you end up getting? You end up getting me in a situation where the best possibility for myself I have is sitting across the table from a white woman that's going to say, well, I mean, you're too smart for your own good. You understand we're dealing with people that are in gangs, right? I mean, they're all in gangs and they're all on drugs. And so you just need to keep your mouth shut and just do what it takes to get through this, right?